Imagine a fortress, ancient and imposing, silhouetted against a stormy sky. Within its cold, stone embrace, English monarchs have reigned, their lives a tapestry woven with power and peril. Yet history remembers not just their triumphs, but also their downfalls, often echoing with pain, betrayal and gruesome death. From the Norman conquest to the dawn of a new era, the English crown has been a weighty symbol, a constant reminder of the fleeting nature of power and the ever-present shadow of mortality. The New Forest, a sprawling expanse of ancient woodland, bore silent witness to the sudden and mysterious demise of William II, son of William the Conqueror. This forest, with its ancient trees and whispering leaves, holds many secrets, but none as perplexing as the fate of the king. It was a fateful August day in 1100 when the king, an avid hunter, met his end. The day began like any other, with the king and his entourage setting out for a hunt, unaware of the tragedy that awaited. An arrow, its flight unseen, pierced the king, killing him instantly. Accident? Perhaps. The arrow's origin remains a mystery, lost in the annals of history. But whispers of conspiracy echoed through the court. Some believed it was no mere accident, but a calculated move by those who stood to gain from the king's untimely death. Was it a tragic misfire during the hunt, or did a carefully aimed shaft cut short the king's reign? Theories abound, but evidence is scarce. The truth, shrouded in the mists of time and the secrets of the forest, remains elusive. The dense fog of history obscures the facts, leaving us to wonder and speculate. William II's death, sudden and violent, serves as a stark reminder of the ever-present danger lurking even in seemingly peaceful moments. His demise is a poignant chapter in the annals of history, a tale of intrigue and mystery that continues to captivate us to this day. Henry I, William II's younger brother, seized the throne. Known for his sharp intellect and ruthless ambition, Henry met his end not on the battlefield but at the banquet table. His weakness? Lampreys, a type of eel, considered a delicacy. Ignoring his physician's warnings, Henry indulged in a feast of these creatures. The result was agonizing. The king was racked with stomach cramps, his body rebelling against the excessive indulgence. Despite the best efforts of his healers, Henry I succumbed to the fatal effects of his gluttony. His death, a cautionary tale of excess, underlined the fragility of life even for a powerful king. Stephen of Blois, Henry I's nephew, claimed the throne, igniting a period of civil war known as the Anarchy. Stephen's reign, marked by conflict and instability, mirrored his own deteriorating health. He suffered from a debilitating stomach ailment, likely a painful ulcer or perhaps even cancer. The once robust king grew thin and weak, his body slowly surrendering to the relentless disease. The pain was constant, a gnawing reminder of his own mortality and the turmoil engulfing his kingdom. Stephen's death, a drawn-out and agonizing affair, brought little peace to the war-torn nation. Section 5. A broken heart, a broken body. Henry II's anguished end. Henry II, grandson of Henry I, inherited a kingdom still reeling from the chaos of Stephen's reign. The realm was in disarray, and the people longed for a strong leader to restore order and peace. A shrewd ruler, Henry brought stability and implemented legal reforms. His efforts to centralize power and establish a system of justice were groundbreaking, laying the foundation for modern legal systems. Yet his later years were marred by rebellion, led by his own sons who craved power. The very heirs he had groomed to continue his legacy turned against him, driven by ambition and a thirst for control. The betrayal of his own flesh and blood took a heavy toll on the aging king. The constant strife and treachery from within his own family left him heartbroken and weary. His health deteriorated, weakened by illness and a broken spirit. The weight of his responsibilities and the relentless conflicts eroded his strength. Some historians believe he suffered from bleeding ulcers, a condition exacerbated by the stress and turmoil of his reign. Others point to a severe intestinal infection, possibly worsened by the rudimentary medical practices of the time. Whatever the cause, Henry II's final days were filled with pain, mirroring the anguish of his tumultuous reign. His physical suffering was a reflection of the emotional and psychological torment he endured. He died a broken man, betrayed by his own sons and consumed by the weight of his crown. His legacy, though marked by significant achievements, was overshadowed by the personal tragedies that haunted his final years. Section 6. The Lionheart's roar silenced Richard I's wound and infection. Richard I, Henry II's son, inherited the throne. Known as Lionheart for his military prowess, Richard spent much of his reign on crusade, far from English soil. It was during a minor siege in France that fate dealt a fatal blow. An arrow launched from a crossbow pierced Richard's shoulder. The wound itself was not mortal, but infection set in. Medieval medicine, lacking antibiotics, was helpless against the spreading poison. Richard I, the mighty Lionheart, lay dying, his body ravaged by fever and pain. The king, who had conquered vast lands and faced countless enemies in battle, was ultimately felled by a tiny, unseen enemy. Section 7. A King's Martyrdom, Edward II's Unthinkable End. Edward II, Richard I's great-great-grandson, ascended the throne, inheriting a kingdom on the brink of change. Edward's reign was marked by political turmoil and his own struggles with powerful barons. Deposed by his own wife and her lover, Roger Mortimer, Edward met a gruesome end. Imprisoned in Berkeley Castle, Edward was subjected to unimaginable torture. The method of his death remains a subject of debate, but historical accounts describe a horrific scene. A red-hot poker inserted into his bowels, a brutal and agonizing end. Edward II's murder, a chilling act of regicide, stands as a stark reminder of the brutality and ruthlessness of medieval politics. Section 8. Starved of hope, starved of life. Richard II's imprisonment. Richard II, Edward II's grandson, inherited the throne at a young age. His reign was marked by political maneuvering and challenges to his authority. Deposed by his own cousin, Henry Bolingbroke, Richard II was imprisoned in Pontefract Castle. His death, shrouded in mystery, was likely a slow and agonizing affair. Most historians believe he was deliberately starved to death, his body slowly wasting away. Imagine the despair, the gnawing hunger, the fading hope as days turned into weeks. Richard II's demise, a chilling example of political expediency, serves as a stark reminder of the human cost of power struggles. Section 9. A King's Heavy Crown, Henry IV and the Ravages of Disease. Henry IV, Richard II's cousin who seized the throne, ruled with a heavy crown. His reign was plagued by rebellions and ill health. Henry suffered from a disfiguring and debilitating skin disease, possibly leprosy or a severe form of psoriasis. The disease, incurable at the time, caused painful sores and disfigurement. Henry, once a vigorous warrior, was reduced to a shadow of his former self. His physical suffering mirrored the turmoil of his reign, a constant reminder of the precarious nature of life and the heavy burden of kingship. Section 10. The monarch beheaded Charles I's public execution. Charles I, a descendant of Henry VII, ascended the throne in 1625. His reign began with great promise and expectations. However, his unwavering belief in the divine right of kings brought him into severe conflict with Parliament. This tension escalated over the years, eventually culminating in the English Civil War, a brutal and bloody conflict that divided the nation. After years of fighting, Charles I was ultimately defeated and captured by the parliamentary forces. He was put on trial for treason, a charge that shocked many at the time. Found guilty of high treason, he was sentenced to death. This was an unprecedented move, as no reigning monarch had ever been tried and executed by their own subjects. On a cold January day in 1649, Charles I was publicly beheaded in front of the Palace of Whitehall. The execution was a somber and shocking event, witnessed by a large crowd. His execution was a defining moment in English history. It marked the end of the monarchy and the beginning of the Commonwealth, a period of republican rule under Oliver Cromwell. This event was a stark demonstration of the shifting balance of power and the vulnerability of even the most absolute ruler. It signaled a new era where the authority of the monarchy was no longer absolute and unchallenged. Section 11, Ashes to Ashes, Reflections on Power and Mortality. The deaths of English kings, from William II's mysterious end in the New Forest to Charles I's public execution, serve as stark reminders of the fragility of power and the ever-present shadow of death. Some met their end quickly, cut down in their prime, while others endured prolonged suffering, their bodies ravaged by disease or the cruelty of their enemies. These stories, etched in the annals of history, offer a glimpse into the human cost of ambition, betrayal, and the relentless march of time. They remind us that even the most powerful rulers are ultimately mortal, subject to the same whims of fate and the inevitability of death.